Hi, listeners. This is Joanna Dos Santos from Mindful Counseling, however, also known as GDS Counseling. You can find me on YouTube by searching GDS Counseling, where I do recording videos with one of my colleagues, primarily focusing on either current events or issues, stressors that are currently going on, or just in general that normally go on. You can always also find me on Facebook, Instagram if you Google JDS Counseling, and my podcast is also found on other platforms such as Google, Stitcher, Podbean, as you know, and some other ones. So I'm here today because I figured it would be good to maybe check in with you, check in with ourselves, and ask ourselves a question as to how do we deal with difficult people, or how do we handle a conflict when we are in the presence of a conflict. And what I mean by that, when you find yourself talking to a difficult person or being in the presence of someone that's always starting a conflict, maybe someone that's more negative, someone that's always almost tapping into that part of you that feels bad, feels guilty, feels sad and lonely. So this is a topic I think that's quite enormous at the moment because we, of course, are surrounded mostly at home in the presence of our families or our spouses, our children, co-workers, through, the platforms that we're using. So let's just take a step back and ask yourself a question. When you are faced with a difficult individual, and you know that each time you see this person, your anxiety heightens, your heartbeat starts to race faster. You're not quite sure how you will handle the situation. You're not quite sure if you will be able to respond the way you want to respond, or you will respond because you want to give in. And how do we do that? Especially with approaching holidays, or if we're ever in a situation when we see these individuals more than not. So what I always recommend, and this is something that I feel like I use in counseling and therapy because it comes up. I think most of us, we can say there's always that one person that makes life a little bit more difficult and maybe is unable to push you forward and move you forward and supports you or says positive things about you. So what I always tell my clients, and the way we do therapy or life coaching, especially life coaching, is what is it that you can do when you find yourself in that moment? So space. Space is important. And how do we find that space? Whether it is our work, our schedules, fun activities, boundaries, extremely important. And even when we decide to take these boundaries, sometimes what happens is the individual that's causing us conflict seems to almost invade that space. And they invade it by being on your mind almost 24/7, where you're unable to separate. So we have to be mindful when we take our space that we're looking at that space as the ability to enjoy, to do something exciting, to do something fun, to sit back and relax. If that's not the case, then clean your house. What else can we do to feel better and to know how to deal with difficult people or a difficult person? Maybe you have more difficult individuals in your life than just one, or maybe none, and that's good. It's all about knowing how to bring into space and how to choose others' words or actions to affect you. Most of the time when we deal with difficult people, whatever conflict they bring into you, and if it's something that is ongoing, maybe consistent, and it just goes on a daily basis, or every week basis, every month basis, it's usually theirs. We just choose to take it. The feelings that are imposed by our conflicted individual, the feelings that we have based upon what they say or do, is something that belongs to them. We all have a tendency to displace our issues or project our feelings onto someone else because it's easier for someone else to handle them than us. So when we deal with difficult individuals, whatever quote unquote the difficult is for you, the stressors, the anxieties as to what will I say, how will I deal with this, how long will I choose to stay with this individual, whether it is at a table, whether it is in the presence. We also have to find a way to bring in the boundary by knowing what to say. It's almost like you have to learn how to prep talk yourself. And if that's not the case, ask someone that is very close to you and that may necessarily know this individual or not to help you. And what I mean by that, if you're ever in the presence of a difficult individual, let your loved one know. And that way, they can see if you ever feel distressed, they can break up the situation. Carry a token in your pocket as a way to distract. So when you find yourself talking to a difficult individual, a difficult person, or about difficult topics, put a token in your pocket or in your hands. It could be anything from a pencil. Oh, it would be too big for your pocket. A coin. Those are actually quite common. Anything that you feel like can bring you peace and a way to distract when you find yourself dealing with a difficult individual. Because remember that no matter how and what a difficult individual may say to you, how much pain they can cause you, what they say, and how they say it, it's not yours. It is theirs. When it comes to our families, dealing with difficult people can be quite difficult because they are our families. And now how do we separate from that? How do we bring in a boundary, especially when it comes to someone that's close to us? This is very common. So common for, I would probably have to say, most of us. Families are not perfect. But there's a way to find where we can bring in a balance, an ability to take care of ourselves, and not necessarily always taking care of those who are the most conflicted or difficult. How else can we deal with a difficult individual? Think of some moments that you have had in your life where you had to deal with a difficult person, and what is it that you did? We could yell back. That's a common way. But is it going to help us? What if we don't yell back? What if we don't communicate back? What if we end up saying we're busy the times they want to see us? What if we give ourselves a time slot as to when we are okay seeing or talking to those individuals, and at the same time having something planned right after, something positive to look forward to? Difficult individuals can be very exhausting. They can exhaust you mentally, and emotionally. Give yourself a brain break. We don't always have to take care of every single individual and every single person's feelings. Those that we take care of will always take care of us. Sometimes there's those that only want to be taken care of, but don't want to take care of us. I'm talking about this topic because this is a very common topic. I don't know if it's more common because it comes up more so today, especially in time of COVID, where we are able to see our families. Maybe more so, maybe less so, I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the fact that some of us are at home dealing with individuals who can be quite difficult. And then how do we separate ourselves from that? Or maybe in some cases, because of COVID, it's a little bit easier that we have a distance between some difficult individuals. Because fact is, maybe we don't have to see them as much. So it goes both ways. But the conflict may still exist. And what's important is how you take care of your own mental health. It's important to bring peace and joy and life into your presence. And how do we do that? So I hope I am providing you at least some guidance as to what to do in cases you are faced in a situation where you are either confronted by a difficult individual, faced with a difficult person, and don't know how to deal with it. Because your anxiety will heighten each time that person enters your life. You may find yourself almost panicking each time they speak, and each time they may require your own space, your own presence. So you have to learn how to take a step back. Come up with a schedule that works for you. Come up with a schedule that is enjoyable and fun for you. For those that take care of you. Carry a token, like I said, a penny in your pocket, or whatever it is that you feel like can bring you comfort. It could be a rock. My daughter loves her rocks. Carry a rock in your pocket as a way to distract yourself. Breathe. We always talk about breathing, and some of us might feel like it's silly, but it's not. If you know how to breathe, especially in a moment being faced with a difficult individual, you'll be able to handle situations differently. Slowing your breath, you're able to think more. You're able to think clearer. When we are anxious, our breathing becomes tense, and we just say things. Whatever comes to mind, we have a tendency to say. So in dealing with a difficult individual, slow down, breathe, and then speak. I hope you all found this helpful. I hope you all may enjoy this day ahead, whether it is with beautiful, healthy, like-minded individual, or those that may be a little bit on edge. Be in a moment. You are all able to handle situations differently, and you're all able to handle them correctly. Because at the end, it is you that matters the most. Until next time, be healthy and be well.